Hello everyone, good afternoon. It is Steve Lookner. This is Agenda Free TV on YouTube. It's Agenda Free TV 2. We are doing a news roundup. We're going to talk about some of the day's top news stories and we're going to hear your comments.
Hello everyone.
Whoa, now we're going to hear two of me. And we're going to hear two of me. Now we're going to hear one of me. So I appreciate that you are here, and thanks to all of our moderators. We got Angel Shark moderating right now, Sarah Joy, Lizzie, they're all there. Thank you for moderating. Ooh, I got to get our other chats open here. We got, hang on a second here. Kin Picky is moderating, thank you. And Twitch. Thanks to everybody watching on Facebook. Tom Pham is there. Got Mark Corson is there. Kmore11. Mira Aravi. Matt Machine. Tomer. Melissa McQueen. Jeff Ha. Miss Sal. Termination. GG. Paula Faust. UV Lightning. And others. So thank you guys for tuning in. I think I want to talk just a bit about, we spent a bunch of time yesterday covering the earthquakes that were going on, in particular the 8.1 earthquake near the Kermadec Islands in New Zealand. So they're still having aftershocks there. So remember, we were covering yesterday the big tsunami warning for New Zealand. Fortunately, the waves in New Zealand were not. There was a prediction that the New Zealand government yesterday was saying they might get tsunami waves like 10 feet high, but they were only about a foot high in New Zealand. But so there was a 7.3 right offshore yesterday, like here. Then there was an 8.1 up here and a 7.4. But they're still getting more earthquakes there. So these are just all like aftershocks. So this is user time zone. So this is about 50. This was about half an hour ago. That was a 5.1. That was about an hour ago, a 5.0. That was about an hour and a half ago, 5.3. A lot of big aftershocks there, around fives. So anyways, that's going on. But you may not know this. There were a couple small tsunami waves that hit California many hours after the earthquake happened, the 8.1 earthquake. So look, this is from National Weather Service Los Angeles. Did you know we had a tsunami today? A tiny surge reached our coast from yesterday's 8.1. I think they misspelled this. It's Kermadec. They misspelled it. It should be Kermadec, not Kermadec Islands quake north of New Zealand, peaking around 5 a.m. Pacific time. So this morning Pacific time, they got a bit of a tsunami surge, small. The purple line below shows surging at the Santa Barbara Harbor tide gauge. Oh, they said Kermadec Islands, typo here. Then there were, but that's not. I read it. There was another one I posted last night. There was another. At least one other area in California where they detected tsunami activity, but small. So that was this morning. And then if we go to tsunami.gov, if you go here, they posted a list on Pacific Tsunami Warning Center of tsunami observations. And you can see Acapulco, Mexico, they had a half a foot tsunami. So Mexico, Chile, look down here though. Port St. Louis, California had like a 4-inch tsunami. Hawaii had some tsunami waves. Hilo, Hawaii, 0.3 feet. Kahului, Hawaii, 0.6 feet. Where's Port St. Louis, California? So these are not, big tsunami waves. Port St. Louis Pier. So this area here, the Port St. Louis, is near, trying to figure out where it's near, San Luis Obispo, north of Santa Barbara. But that's in California, right? See, that's in California right here. They had where is it here? Port St. Louis. They had a 0.3 feet tsunami, about 4 inches. So anyways, you may not have known that, but it took hours and hours for the waves to spread out across the world. I thought that was interesting. Katrina Jones says baby tsunamis are okay. Yeah, Gravity Bong says, I'm in Santa Barbara. I didn't know we had any action. Hey, Paula Garlock. Good to see you, Paula Garlock, in Niagara Falls, New York. But it just shows you how many hours it takes. Craig Kendrick, New Zealand, says, I'm a New Zealander. We're fine, bro. Michelle Ryan says, it is interesting. Yes, Sarah Joy, I just mentioned there were a few in Hawaii. If you go to tsunami.gov, and then you click on the top alert here, you will get this whole list of tsunami observations. And there's a bunch in Hawaii too. Less than a foot. 0.6 feet, 0.2 feet, several inches, but a bunch of them in Hawaii. The princess says, I'm in Cali, had no clue. We got Happy, Slappy, and Neptune watching as well. Thanks for watching. Hey, Bud Green is moderating too. Thank you. I'm going to have to do a little moderating. Here. Oh, Bud Green has got it. Bud Green is moderating in Facebook. Bud Green will take care of it. Thank you, Bud. Okay, so just want to talk about that. One of our viewers mentioned the car crash in New York. I had read there was a car crash in New York this morning, I was reading about in New York City, which I believe the article I read said it was caused possibly by somebody who's driving who had a seizure. So it's not like terrorism or anything. Yeah, so this wasn't good. At least 7 injured as vehicle plows through outdoor dining area in NYC. But again, this is not supposed to be like a cop said the driver had suffered a medical episode. He was released without charges. This is from the New York Post. I'm bringing it up now, though, because our viewer, Karch, wrote in and said he walked by the area. So I'll show you what Karch did. This was in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. I'm assuming there's no gore in this, and I'll show it in that case. Yeah, so here's a video actually from Karch. Karch Caprilius. In case, he says, I took a couple videos on my way to work. That's our viewers' video. Again, the driver reportedly had a medical episode. You can see here it says, at least 7 injured as vehicle plows through outdoor dining area in NYC. New York Post, an out-of-control van caused a chain reaction crash in Midtown that wiped out an outdoor dining setup and sent 7 people, including 2 children, to the hospital around 8:30 in the morning. A 66-year-old man at the wheel of a Nissan van rammed into a black Toyota Camry from behind on 2nd Avenue and near East 50th Street. Cops said the driver suffered a medical episode. The outdoor dining setup was completely demolished. Let's see here. Anyways, what's the condition of the people who got hurt? 7 people were injured. Seven people were injured with non-life-threatening injuries. 1 suffered a broken hip while the children suffered abrasions. Okay, well, I'm glad no one's suffered life-threatening injuries. But thank you, Karch, for sending in the video. That was our viewer's video from Karch. Ann M. says does their illness allow them to drive? Well, they said that the driver's not going to be charged. So I'm assuming they didn't have some kind of, I would think if they had some kind of condition where they were not supposed to drive, the police wouldn't say, we're not going to charge them. Now, maybe the person won't be allowed to drive. Like, I don't know how it works. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the person would have a hard time getting insured. I don't know how this works, but if you're that driver and you have a medical episode while driving and you get in a big accident like that, I'm guessing it might be difficult to get insurance in the future, right? I don't know how this works, but they're very, like insurance, I'm guessing it'll go on the person's record that they have had an accident caused by them having a medical episode. So, you know, I wonder if you can't get insurance if that happens. Can you get insurance if you have a medical episode and you cause an accident? Freckles says they're not supposed to drive for 1 year after a seizure. Here, hold on a second. Car accidents caused by medical emergency. How does liability work? I'm more interested in whether you can get insured in the future. This is nolo.com. Yeah, I don't know how that works. What if I black out and cause a car accident? But see, these articles are more about like who pays for the injuries and stuff. It's not about like whether you can get insurance in the future. I don't know. Polly says if it was a seizure, they should revoke their license. But I don't know if it was a seizure. I don't know what kind of medical emergency it was. All the Best says you probably can get insured, but the cost will be prohibitive. That could happen too. Polly says it must be possible to get insurance. Well, right. If it's legal to drive, I would think it'd be possible to get insurance if it's legal to drive. But as one of our viewers just said, it might just be an enormous expense. Yeah, Jay Brown, we're going to give an update on what happened on the Tiger Woods situation shortly. We'll do that shortly. Nicholas Peter Wall says, are you going to do an update on the New Zealand earthquakes? I just did, Nicholas Peter Wall. I talked about it 7 minutes ago. Rewind the stream. Hey, Roxanne Becky is moderating too. Okay. April Coco says there are specific epilepsy laws, vary state by state. They have to be seizure-free for a certain amount of time. But again, I don't know that a seizure is what caused this. Sarah Joy says they mostly suspend your license until you are cleared by a doctor. I wouldn't be surprised if they had that kind of thing. Okay, I want to talk about, so some people were just asking about it, so I was going to talk about it anyway. Let's talk about the Tiger Woods thing. Some people asked for an update on that. So some new details came out about the Tiger Woods car crash that happened last week. Tiger Woods was found unconscious at crash scene by local man, officials say. This is according to court documents. See, this is really weird. It's like, why didn't they just say this last week? Stuff like this annoys me. The police never said this. The police never said this, and they implied that he was conscious because the police during their press conference had a deputy come out and say, well, I was the first police officer to reach Tiger Woods and he was speaking to me. So that presents a false picture. I mean, the police clearly knew this. This is not a surprise to police. I would be shocked if this were a surprise to police. Maybe there's a world in which they had to have known this. Did the person go to the car and try to talk to Tiger Woods and then not tell the police until days later? I would think the police knew this. It just bothers me. If they knew, it's just say it. Christy Horton, I don't know that it contradicts what the first police officer on the scene said. The first police officer on the scene didn't say, I don't think they said, no one saw him before me. So strictly speaking, I don't think it contradicts him. But when the police, don't say it, and then they say, here's the first officer who talked to him, and the first officer says he was conscious, that presents a misleading picture if they know he was found unconscious. Jeff says maybe he was conscious when the police got there. Oh, I don't doubt that. My question is, I would think the police knew this. And if they know this, then they should say it. Anyways, here's the story. The first man to respond to the Tiger Woods crash scene was a local man who told law enforcement the golfer was unconscious in the driver's seat. Who told law enforcement the golfer was unconscious in the driver's seat. He told the police. This according to new court documents obtained by TMZ Sports. LA County Sheriff's Deputy Johann Schlogel submitted an affidavit which described an interview with the man. So when did they interview him? Who lives in the area where Tiger crashed his SUV on February 23rd. The man told law enforcement he heard the crash near the Rolling Hills Estates and decided to walk to the accident scene to check it out where he saw Woods. According to the affidavit, the witness tried talking to Tiger, but the golfer was unresponsive. LA County Sheriff's Deputy Carlos Gonzalez arrived at the scene shortly after and has publicly stated Woods was conscious and talking when he got there. So, I would assume they talked to this guy before they did this press conference. Now, maybe they didn't, but if the police did talk to this man, before the press conference, I don't know why they wouldn't just mention this. I Hear Cricket says the police may not have taken sworn statements by the press conference, and the officer talked about what he knew saw. I don't know. It just seems to me if you're making a big show out of having an officer come on there and say, I was the first officer to get there, he was conscious, then, if nothing else, you can say, well, you could explicitly say, I don't recall them saying this. You could explicitly say something like, there may have been other people who were there before our officer, so we're not sure about things about like what his state was before the officer got there. Did they say something like that? I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know. Right. Ann M says, wonder if on 911 call they said he was unconscious. Did this person call 911? I'm not saying this implies anything about Tiger Woods. It's weird to me to hear this now. Yeah, Darren, the witness said he tried talking with Tiger, but the golfer was unresponsive. Officials are now pulling data from the black box in Tiger's vehicle, which could reveal detail about Tiger's speed and driving pattern in the moments before the crash. In the affidavit, the deputy says, I believe the data in the black box will explain how and why the collision occurred. The LA County Sheriff is saying that Tiger will not be charged with a crime. I Hear Cricket says maybe no one asked if he was conscious before the officer got there. My point is, if the police knew this, they should have said this. If they really had somebody who told them, I talked to him, I got there, and he was unconscious. He wasn't responding to me. I don't know why they couldn't have mentioned that at the press conference. Dark says most likely he was just in shock from the crash and broken bones. I mean, again, I'm not saying why he wouldn't why he would be unconscious, but dogs rule, cats drool says, of course not, he's rich and famous. Yeah, I just hope they didn't. I hope it's not the case that they didn't say this because he's Tiger Woods. That's what I hope. Hang on. On the sidewalk guy says, Tiger says he doesn't remember driving. Yeah, I'll show you there's some more details about that story. Let's look at another story about this topic. Robert Kennedy says he could have easily been knocked out cold for a few minutes. Duster Singer is watching. Hello, Duster Singer. Okay, here, let's look at this. This is from the LA Times. Tiger Woods, no. Which is it? Tiger Woods. There's that, but there's another. Here, I actually want to look at this article. I haven't read this. This is from the LA Times. I want to look at that article in a second, but let me just see if there's something else about this, because that has some updates in that article too. Hey, thanks, John Mills and SC. That's really kind of you, John Mills and SC. I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Thanks so much. Here's a different report about the same story. Tiger Woods was found unconscious in his SUV by a man who walked to the scene. Affidavit says. I'd love to get the affidavit. I haven't seen it, though. I'd love to actually get the affidavit. Like, I'd love to have the actual document. But I haven't seen it anywhere. All right, let's look at this. ESPN. Associated Press. A man found Tiger Woods unconscious in a mangled SUV after the golf star crashed his vehicle. According to court documents, the man who lives near the accident heard the crash and walked to the SUV. The man told deputies Woods would not respond to his questions. Woods, the first officer who came to the scene, was able to talk to Woods. Woods told deputies both at the scene and later at the hospital that he did not know how the collision occurred and he didn't even remember driving. So the affidavit also said that Tiger Woods told police that he didn't even remember driving the car at all. Law enforcement has not previously disclosed that Woods had been unconscious after the crash. The information came in a statement of probable cause, suggesting that a search warrant would be approved for the vehicle's data recorder. Sheriff's representatives have declined to say what was discovered in the recorder and did not immediately respond to an additional request for comment. Sheriff Alex Villanueva has said the crash was purely an accident. This police deputy previously told USA Today he did not seek a warrant for Woods blood samples, which could be screened for drugs and alcohol. I don't know what's the deal with that. If it wasn't Tiger Woods, if it wasn't a celebrity, if it weren't a celebrity, would they test your blood in that situation for alcohol or drugs? I honestly don't know. I just don't know. This says nothing about it. It's just, I just hope it's not being handled any differently because it's a celebrity. But, this is what day did this accident happen? February 23rd. February 23rd, it was actually like 2 weeks ago. It happened on, no, it was no, but it happened like 10 days ago. So we're 10 days ago and it just comes out now that he was found unconscious. I don't know. It just seems like, they're intentionally not telling you. Mira RV says, I did not know that they needed probable cause for obtaining the black box. Well, I also wonder, so it's a good point that they had to file a warrant to obtain the black box information from the car. And they have to file a warrant where they demonstrate probable cause. Probable cause for what? I'm assuming probable cause that there may have been a crime committed, right? The police don't get a warrant. They're not the NTSB. So I would assume the police can't get a warrant unless they have probable cause that there's a crime committed. So if that's the case, then why is the sheriff saying it was definitely an accident and he won't be charged with anything? I would assume if you're getting a search warrant and you have to demonstrate probable cause is that there's a crime that might have been committed. It seems odd that the sheriff is saying he's not going to be charged, and at the same time they're getting a warrant to get the black box. Yeah, A&M, the hospital would have gotten the blood. I'm sure the hospital had samples of his blood, but that's not something the police can get without a warrant. They can't test it. Norma Starr says, do all cars have black boxes? I had no idea they had one. I don't know. There's another article about black box we'll look at in a second. See, all of these articles, the things I always want to know when I look at this stuff, the thing I always want to know is this person being treated differently than other people? And I really wish these articles, they should just call up somebody who is an expert in whatever field they need to be an expert in and just get a quote about, is this normal? Is it normal that they would not draw blood in this case? Right? That would be one thing. Also, is it normal that if somebody's unconscious, they would say that they would not say that, and then 10 days later it would just come out? I just want to know, if it's normal, if that's the way they do things for everybody, then fine. Daniel Boberson says, of course it's being handled differently. Yeah, probable cause for warrants. One of our viewers mentioned Googling it. Probable cause, Legal Information Institute, Cornell Law School. Probable cause is a requirement found in the Fourth Amendment that usually must be met before police can make an arrest, conduct a search, or receive a warrant. Courts usually find probable cause when there is reasonable basis for believing a crime may have been committed or when evidence of the crime is present and placed to be searched. So, again, I don't understand if they're filing a warrant, which they did, where they argue that there's probable cause, and they filed this warrant to be able to search the black box of the car. Well, then they had to argue there's probable cause that a crime was committed. So why is the sheriff saying he's not going to be charged with anything? Jennifer, I never heard, Jennifer G says, pretty sure the day of the accident, the CHP spokesperson said he was unconscious, but someone else said he was at a different presser. I don't remember hearing that. That wasn't at the main press conference, but maybe he said it somewhere else. Hey, thanks so much, The Princess. The Princess said, hope you liked the shirt. Wait, the second one? Did you send the second one, The Princess? There was a second shirt, the one that said, like, share, subscribe, because we opened that on the air. I loved it. Have you seen that live stream yet, The Princess? Thank you, The Princess. Yeah, I don't really want to get off on that. This is a news show, so this is something for the Lookner channel. We'll talk about this more on the Lookner channel. The Princess, please bring this up on the Lookner channel when we do that. I have this other channel where I do non-news coverage. Oh, The Princess says, I watched the replay. Great. Okay, cool. Yeah, it was great. But we'll talk about this more on the Lookner channel. Remind me, The Princess, we can talk about it there. I have this other channel, the Lookner channel, but that's where I do non-news stuff. Okay. We're not going to worry about that right now, though. Seize the Day says, unless medical reason found, they would definitely do drug screens. She thinks the police would. Dark Jedi said black boxes are mandated in all vehicles produced after 2004. Forbes, your vehicle black box, a witness against you in court. Forbes, odds are your vehicle is equipped with an event data recorder, also known as a vehicle black box. And your local police department is now fully equipped to retrieve and analyze the black box data and use it against you in court. As of May 2018, almost all common U.S. vehicles come standard with a black box installed. That means every time you get behind the wheel, every button you press and every maneuver you make is being recorded. That includes seatbelt closure, brake usage, blinker usage, travel speed, etc. Interesting. I didn't even know this. Around since the 90s, black boxes were mostly used by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, but not in, to gather statistical data, but not in court. In the last few years, the local police slowly began using black boxes in criminal cases. Excuse me. That's interesting. Your car is hidden in black box and how to keep it private. USA Today. Most commercial air, blah, blah, blah. Cars can have black boxes too. In fact, it's a good bet your current car has one already. And if it doesn't, your next new car certainly will. How about that? Since the blah, 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 blah. In 2013, 96% of every new car sold in the U.S. came with a black box. And as of September 2014, every new vehicle must have one installed. How about that? Angel Shark says, I wasn't aware of that. Wow. SC says, 2018 cars have black boxes. Didn't know that myself. Kay Gephardt says, I had no idea. It's good to know, actually. Short Stack says, I didn't know that. Frank Shorter says police and insurance company will want his blood. I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to get it now. I mean, if they didn't test it before, you need the blood from the day of the accident. Drawing his blood now doesn't do any good. I don't know if they're going to test his blood. I don't know if they have any access to the blood from several days. I don't know if you can still test it now. If you can still test it for drugs this many days after. I have no idea. Daniel Boberson said, I bet he had Ambien and some pain pills for the recent surgery would be in his room, and I'm sure they could not check that out either. Good question. I don't know if they tried to or got access to search his room or his bags. How about his bags? How about the car? Did they search all his bags? Ann M says he asked to have his manager pick up his equipment and belongings. Wonder if any meds were tucked away in there. I'm going to show you another article about this too. Still Kicking says if black box shows he was speeding, will he get charged? I don't know how that works. I have no idea how that works. Like if the black box showed he was going like 85 miles an hour or something, could he get a speeding ticket? I don't know. Excuse me. Ting says, who doesn't do drugs after a car accident? Well, I think she's referring to like painkillers and stuff. But the big question is, was he? I mean, was he? Well, that's one question: is was he on anything before? But I don't even know if they're checking if they're doing any kind of investigation into that. Linda Birdbike says, unless he showed signs of impairment at the scene, there is no reason to check his blood or his luggage. So what it might be is because maybe if you show no signs of impairment, I don't know how it works. For an accident, I don't know what they need to, could they argue, well, he did here's a sign of possible impairment. His car literally drove across the road into a sign in a tree in the middle of the day, and he was unconscious after. So is that fact alone enough to be able to say that we think this person might have had something, might have been on something? I don't know. It's a legal question. It depends on how the law works. Mary Golden says, I saw a police officer take his golf clubs. Well, I'm guessing the police probably removed what was there. I don't know that they searched it, though. Juanita Rochelle says, remember he was healing from back surgery, so of course he will more than likely have some narcotic in his blood. Well, the question would be, if they search is, did he have anything illegal? Thanks for writing your comment, Juanita. Hang on one second here. Hey, thanks, Juanita Rochelle, for the Facebook stars. I appreciate that. Thank you. Here, let me show you this. Couple articles here. Tiger Woods doesn't remember the crash that hospitalized him, but the SUV does. This is from LA Times. Before doing this, let me just check something real quick. By the way, I just saw this. California ballparks, stadiums, and theme parks can open outdoors beginning April 1st with capacity restrictions. Ballparks, stadiums, and theme parks can reopen with restrictions. What is it? This is from Cron. Several blah, 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 blah. Ballparks, stadiums, and theme parks can open outdoors beginning April 1st with capacity restrictions. So like Disney is not all outdoors. Can it open? I don't know. Anyways, if you want to, there's more information on that if you want to look it up. That's from Cron. I don't think I'm going to get hung up on that right now. See, look, hold on a second. See, let's see if this says anything else. This says theme parks like Disneyland, it says. This is ABC 7 News. California to allow theme parks like Disneyland live shows to resume at reduced capacity on April 1st. Theme parks may open at 15% capacity when their respective counties into the state's red tier designation. Okay. So it does apply to Disney. That's not till April 1st. Disneyland, Universal, and other California theme parks can reopen April 1st. OC Register. California theme parks can reopen April 1st under separate updated guidelines. Blah, 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 blah. The Newsom administration's blueprint refresh allows Disneyland, Universal Studios, Hollywood, Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags Magic Mountain, SeaWorld San Diego, Legoland California, and other California theme parks to reopen as early as April 1st once the counties they are located in reach the red substantial tier 2 risk status. But you have to have a certain amount of, your statistics have to be good enough in your county. Anyways. This is breaking news on it's breaking news on WDW News Today. Hang on a second here. I'm going to post this. Janet R. says, I personally think we're opening everything up too soon. Jennifer G. says, is it financially viable for Disney, etc., to open under 15% capacity, though? I wonder if they will actually open. According to OC Register, it says that starting at April 1st, California theme parks can reopen at 15% capacity if they're in a certain tier. The capacity depends on the tier that the surrounding county is in. Sarah Joy says the Valley is supposed to move to the red tier March 15th. Emma Sykes says things are on the up here in UK. Stage 1 of lockdown ending and kids back to school. Saranya says I'm from California and that it's crazy. They haven't even started vaccinating ages 55, 64, or high risk. Thank you, Saranya, for your support. I appreciate it. Saranya says California won't begin vaccinating high-risk people until 3/15, and people age 55 to 64 won't be vaccinated until summer. Reopening sports and theme parks is a bad idea. Now, Saranya, you say 55, 64 won't be vaccinated until summer. I don't know about that because remember, President Biden said that he believed there would be enough vaccines available to vaccinate everybody, every adult who in the United States by the end of May. So certainly, there's going to be a lot of people unvaccinated on April 1st. And even it takes a certain amount of time, even if you do get the vaccines, it takes a certain amount of time for you to build up the immunity for it to work. But I don't think it'll be till summer. I get the impression from everything I'm hearing is that that by May at some point, every adult who wants to get vaccinated will be able to. Thank you, Saranya. Just wanted to mention that I just saw that pop up right now. Rebecca Walker says, is that an April Fool's joke? Because it's April 1st. No, it is not an April Fool's joke. But it is April Fool's Day, as Jose Albuquerque points out. Duster Singer says, I love all those places. Oh, hold on a second here. I have to get. Yeah, it's when people come up with their politically toxic stuff. Just take the politically toxic stuff somewhere else. No one wants to listen to it. Certain people, it's like, for example, whatever story you post, they say, because Biden is bad, or because this person is bad. It's like no one wants to listen to it. Just take it somewhere else. It's just awful. LNG says, I'm in Canada. I can get my first shot in July, second dose 4 months later, so November. Is that true? So we were reading this LNG, we were reading an article about Canada where Prime Minister Trudeau said that he was hoping that they would get more supply sooner. So, I just know that that just because you've heard one thing about when there'll be enough supply to vaccinate everyone doesn't mean it's going to stick to that. The supplies are going to start going up, not just in the U.S. Sean K. Thank you, Sean K., for your support. I appreciate that, Sean K. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you, Sean K. Also, a quick thanks to Richard Cates. Hey, thank you, Richard. Richard Cates. Thanks, Richard, for your support. Richard Cates. Oh, and Duster Singer. Thanks. It's so kind of you. Duster Singer. Thanks, Duster, for your support. Duster watches on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's very nice of you. Okay. I want to get back to the Tiger Woods thing. We were talking about that, and then that news came out about the ballparks and stadiums and theme parks. So if you want to know more details about the whole California thing, you can just Google it, and I'm sure you can find plenty of stories on it. Hang on a second here. I also like to check while we're doing this and make sure no other breaking news is happening. Let's talk about this. We were about to read this article. We were about to talk about this. Tiger Woods doesn't remember the crash that hospitalized him, but the SUV does. This is from Los Angeles Times. Tiger Woods has told authorities he doesn't even remember the crash. He says he doesn't remember driving. Like other modern cars and trucks, the Genesis GV80 that Woods was driving is equipped with an electronic data recorder and other computer hardware meant to serve as a digital witness of sorts. It was not surprising then that as part of their effort to understand what led Woods to lose control in the crash, the Sheriff's Department executed a search warrant this week to retrieve the data contained on the SUV's computers. That will show how fast Woods was going, whether he ever hit the brakes, and other clues could be critical to reconstruction the crash that left 45-year-old Woods' golfing future in limbo. But can you get a search warrant if you don't think a crime was committed, can you get a search warrant? I would think you'd have, here, let's look at this article says, LA County Sheriff obtains search warrant in Woods crash seeking SUV data. Yes, the department is seeking the information from the SUV's so-called black boxes to determine the cause of the crash and to reconstruct the incident to determine if the golfing legend was driving at an unsafe speed or was distracted or affected by something else inside the vehicle. I don't think the police can get a search warrant just because they are interested in knowing what happened. You get a search warrant to figure, the police get a search warrant to figure out if a crime was committed. Deputy Carlos Gonzalez said he determined at the scene that Woods was not under the influence, and therefore there was no probable cause for such a blood draw. Woods was calm and lucid, he added. Villanueva said that no evidence suggested the golfer's actions rose to reckless driving and that this was more likely an infraction offense. So this is the deputy, the crash investigator who was the first deputy at the scene. Okay, he said this. Now, is this common? Maybe it's common. I don't know. That's why the police didn't take a blood sample, because the deputy says he determined that Woods was not under the influence by talking to him. I mean, you can imagine a case where you talk to somebody and they're just perfectly lucid and you're like, well, you know, you can't just get a warrant for you can't just get a warrant because you feel like it for taking somebody's blood. So maybe the conversation was just as such that the deputy was like, well, he just seems normal to me. So I guess maybe the very fact that you've it's an interesting question though. No matter how lucid somebody is this I just don't know the answer to this. Can the very fact of what the car did in itself justify a warrant? Because if you remember, the car appeared to just drive straight across the road, plow through a sign, and then hit a tree. And then the police said there was no signs. There didn't seem to be signs of braking. Didn't look like the car ever broke, ever used its brakes. So, is that alone? Is there ever a case where what the car itself did is enough to get a warrant for the person's blood, even if they're talking in a lucid manner? These are just legal questions. I have no idea. It's an interesting situation, though. Emma Sykes thinks it's being covered up because of who was involved. C. Michelle Sparks says, calm and lucid, never did sit right with me. Shock, maybe. Me So Hungry says he has a past history of DUI, so I would think it's common sense to test. Again, it's just, these are interesting points. It's ultimately, what is the law? The question I would like to know is, what is the law there? Darren, the vehicle had an internal camera. I just don't know if it was on, where the vehicle looks at the driver to alert the driver if they're falling asleep, I believe it is. I forget exactly why, but we read an article that said the vehicle had an internal camera. But I don't know if it was being used and if they have that data. Oh, thank you, Angel Shark. That's very kind of you, Angel Shark. I appreciate that, Angel Shark. Thank you. So, and my question over and over and over again is just, is this being handled? If it's being handled the way they handle everybody else, then I'm fine with that. I just want to know if it's being handled the way they handle everybody else. Ooh, let's look at this. Keith Swenson, a retired sheriff's commander who knows the stretch of road well as a local resident, said drivers sometimes fail to follow the curve of the downhill stretch and, like Woods, veer across oncoming traffic, and it sometimes proves deadly. According to a source not authorized to discuss the probe, investigators seeking the warrant cited a lack of skid marks or other signs of braking as the reason the data are needed to determine why the vehicle careened through a Rolling Hills Estate sign and across opposing traffic before hitting a curb, snapping a tree, and rolling over a hillside. During the last 14 months, there have been 13 other crashes on that stretch of road. Investigators determined a cause in 11 of those wrecks. Experts say an SUV like the Genesis may also have captured data to show whether Woods received a warning alert for inattentive driving in the moments before impact. This person, who is the CEO and founder of Privacy for Cars, suspects the sheriff's search warrant will cover other data in the vehicle beyond the data recorder. Such as whether the recorder, he says there's a lot more data in the car beyond the event data recorder. Oh, it's a woman. It said Andrea Amico. Oh, Andrea's a guy because it says his company. Other vehicles with systems to warn a driver if they are distracted. Yeah, so maybe the car gave him a distracted driver warning. We don't know. Anyways, interesting situation. Well, eventually we'll hear from the police. I mean, I believe they have gotten the warrant. Yeah, they did obtain the search warrant. So there'll be some kind of report on this from the police. I don't know if you can hear the squeaking. Once in a while my chair squeaks, and I need to put some WD-40 on it, but it's hard. I can't figure out exactly where the squeaking is coming from. I need to do that. I'm writing myself a note to do it. I kind of just need to put a bunch of WD-40 in different places, but I don't know exactly how to fix it. So I will write myself a note now to do it. It's kind of bothering me. I just don't do it. It's a bit of a pain because I don't really want to do it in here. I got to move the chair and everything. Elizabeth G says, my car has given me the sleepy alert a few times when I've been wide awake and not distracted. Was he tweeting? Mark Starkiller, I don't believe he was tweeting while driving. Tammy Land said, I do not notice any squeaking. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty, I don't even know if the mic picks it up. It's probably pretty quiet if the mic does pick it up. Dr. Neal says, can't get a blood draw unless someone else was hurt? I haven't heard that. That's not what the article said. The article didn't say that at all. Look, the article said, the deputy from the police said, Gonzalez said he determined at the scene that Woods was not under the influence and therefore there was no probable cause for a blood draw. It didn't say anything about nobody getting hurt. Joe Arrow says WD-40 won't work. Silicone sprayed lubricant. I might have some of that too. I have some different lubricant stuff here. I might have the silicone lubricant. I think I might. So maybe I'll try that. Seize a day, heard the chair. Yeah, sometimes it just squeaks. I just have to take care of it. I will figure it out. I will handle it. Maybe I'll do it tonight. All right, hang on a second here. What is this? You can reach me at @Lookner on Twitter, by the way. @Lookner on Twitter. Hey, I just want to say thanks to our moderators again. We got Sarah Joy moderating. Angel Shark's been in there. I really appreciate it. Lizzie is there. Mark Helton is there. Debbie says I should spray my chair with Pam. I don't have any Pam. Thanks also to... Excuse me. Bud Green, Roxanne Betke. Hey, I really appreciate it, mods. Thank you. Ellie Bourne, Kin Picky, Rift Tracks. Thanks, mods. If anybody's interested in being a volunteer mod, that'd be awesome. Just to ask the mods for more information. You can ask them about that. All right, let's move on to a different story. We're going to a different story. Enough of the. I'll update about. We'll talk about Tiger Woods when there's more information on it. By the way, Bill Malugin posted about this. So as we told you before, California announces a plan to reopen outdoor theme parks and sporting concert events starting April 1st. Bill Malugin says, with these low capacities, expect ticket prices to soar. I wonder if they'll do that. They certainly would be able to, a place like Disney. King Seahawk says that is extremely surprising. California's been very strict. Well, again, it's limited capacity depending on the tier, and it's April 1st. I think the experts would probably, the public health experts, from everything I've heard, are saying, wait a couple months till most people are vaccinated. Let me clean. I have too many things open too much open on my desktop. Oh, I wanted to talk about this other LA story. This robbery story is crazy. I don't know. I say crazy. It's kind of crazy. There was a woman. This Beverly Hills restaurant. A woman got shot yesterday while in a robbery attempt, and the robbers were trying to steal this. Beverly Hills, I guess they stole it. Beverly Hills jeweler offers reward after losing $500,000 watch and stick-up. It's from LA Times. But this was like during the day. Jeweler Shea Belhassan had just shown a client some watches at his new Beverly Hills showroom and then sat down at the posh Il Pastillo restaurant across the street Thursday when he locked eyes with three guys in hoodies coming his way. One of them ran and pulled a gun from his jacket pocket, grabbed me from the back of my chair, choking me and putting a gun to my head. Belhassan said in an interview with the Times Friday morning. His two friends, one of them is yanking my hand and the other is yanking my watch. He said instinct kicked in from there. I grabbed the gun with both my hands and fought them to the ground. It's lucky he wasn't killed. At the end of the fight, I ended up with the gun and they ran away. Wow. The gun went off in the scuffle, a bullet grazing a woman dining at the restaurant. A second person suffered a minor injury and some planters were smashed. Police swarmed the area, taping it off as witnesses and onlookers gawked. Gone was the jewelry store owner's. Gone was the watch, a rare high-end watch, a rose gold Richard Mille RM 1103 flyback chronograph. a watch popular with celebrities, and a piece he has estimated is worth $500,000. He said part of his anger was based on the fact that similar crimes have been happening in the area repeatedly in recent weeks, few of which have gotten as much attention as his situation. He doesn't believe police are doing enough about it. LA police have noticed a trend of robberies targeting high-end watches in the nearby Wilshire area, part of a broader uptick in robberies, more of which are ending in gunfire. He is offering a $50,000 reward for return of the watch. He doubts it will hit the market quickly, in part because of his robbery. His robbery in the heart of Beverly Hills caught so much attention. It is a very rare watch, he said. Tennis star Rafael Nadal had a Richard Mille watch stolen from him during a tournament a few years ago. Beverly Hills police believe the robbers targeted the jewelry store owner for the timepiece. Yeah, and this is like Il Pastel restaurant. This is not a place where you'd normally expect people to get shot, and particularly in the middle of the day. Here it is right here. I lived in LA for years. I mean, maybe it happened, but I never heard of like shootings like this here. Where's the restaurant here? That's it right there. Cannon Drive. Il Pastel. So that's the restaurant bar. And then there's probably a jewelry store across the street. Although I don't know. Where's the jewelry store? Jeweler Shea Belhazen. Do they have a store? I don't know where his store is. The story said the jewelry store was across the street. Oh, there he is. Shea Belhazen. That's him. That's the watch. During the struggle, a woman was shot in the leg, Shea Belhazen said. This is from the New York Post. 4 shots ran out during the struggle, Shea Belhazen said. Anyways, I was trying to find out where the jewelry store is. I don't know, but this is where the restaurant is. I mean, this is like a lot of tourists go here. But this is right in Beverly Hills. And there's a lot of people around too. C. Michelle Sparks says, sounds like a buyer is already lined up. Underdog Rising says, with the out-of-control levels of poverty in LA, it's no surprise at all this is happening. Look, I don't know if it's poverty-related. Maybe it's somebody who's very powerful who wanted the watch. I don't know. Joyce said, where would you normally expect people to get shot? Well, your expectations about where shootings happen would be based on the statistics to where they happen. Statistically, you don't see shootings like this happen in this area. So I would expect people to get, here's my answer to your point, your question. I would expect people to get shot more in the areas that statistically show that there's more shootings there. How's that? I would expect people to get shot more in the areas where historically there are more shootings. That's my answer to your question. It's like arguing I'm making some kind of terrible, awful point by saying I wouldn't expect people to get shot there because there aren't a lot of shootings there. Oh, what did he just say? Oh, he's a bad person for saying that. He's a bad person for saying he wouldn't expect people to get shot in a place where there's rarely any shootings. What a horrible thing to say of him. This is in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles. Joe, it's $500,000, not $500. Still Kicking says, where do you sell a $500,000 stolen watch? Well, that's why I wonder, did somebody know, like, does somebody powerful say, I want that watch? I don't know. By the way, our viewer Debbie said, could Tiger have been avoiding another car? I have not heard that said by the police. So I'm guessing they will look into that. But no, I have not seen that reported anywhere. So, and I'm assuming they could tell by like maybe the skid marks or the steering, or probably the car, the way the car seemed to have turned, maybe. But we'll see what the police say. Nat Machine says organized crime probably. I mean, it's not just the fact that somebody got shot. It's like the fact that they were eating at this restaurant in the middle of the day and someone just approached them with guns and then they tried to steal the watch. It's, I mean, pretty brazen. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting story. The thing is, though, what I said is the guy's lucky to be alive because as he said, he struggled with the people. He struggled with the robbers. And the gun accidentally went off, I guess, in the struggle. But, it's if you're struggling with somebody with a loaded gun, it's very possible that he could have been killed. So it's good nobody else got hit. Richard Mille watch. I've never heard of Richard Mille watches. They're too expensive for me. Is this it right here? Let's see. Is this the watch? Richard Mille. I'm going to the website. Ooh, that's it. RM1103. That's the watch, right? I just looked at the website. Hold on. Is that the same watch right here? Richard Mille. Is that the same as this? I think it is. Look, they have a web page for it. It's the Richard Mille web page. Hold on, they make it hard to. An emblematic model. I don't know what any of this means. There's a whole page about the watch you can look up. Anyways. They have it here? Here, this is a site called Chrono24, and they give prices. I'm looking for that exact watch. It might be it's this one, but it says price on request. Price on request. Price on request. Price on request. It's all price on request. Look at these sites. This one's this is a different one, but it's $500,000. I did not know about these watches. This whole world of these watches. Look at these watches. This whole world of watches I was not familiar with. I guess this is one of the big expensive watch brands. Richard Mille. Who was Richard Mille? Does he have a Wikipedia page? No, I just want Richard Mille. Richard Mille, it's not a person, it's a company. Richard Mille is a Swiss company founded by Dominique Ganot and Richard Mille and based in Switzerland. The brand specializes in luxury watches. They should be paying me for talking about them so much. I'm sure my audience is their target audience too. I think I get a lot of viewers in their demographic. There's Richard Mille and Dominique Ganot. I had no idea. The brand's most famous models are the Blah and the Blah. This one is priced from 500,000 euros. They have sold a total of 32,000 watches between 2001 and 2017. I'm sure they keep a record of all of them too. Anyways, I wonder, I should get an associates link. I should get an Amazon associates link for Richard Mille watches so I can post a link, and then if you buy it, I get a little cut of it. Hey, thank you, Kenneth Colton. That's very kind of you. Kenneth Colton, I really appreciate your support. Kenneth Colton, thank you. And thanks for shouting out the mods. Not Cupcake says I'm more of a Casio guy. Jennifer G says a lot of expensive things are often price on request. Furniture, interior design products, jewelry, etc. Their websites often won't have pricing. What a different world that is. LNG says, I've never seen them before. Very interesting. Annie L says, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. It's just interesting that there's enough demand for it that they have a company that makes these things. This is their company. Their company this is what the company does. It makes these watches that sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's that much of a demand that you're saying, we're going to create a company. It's not like they're selling one of these watches. C. Michelle Sparks says, status brand. Do rappers mention Richard Mille watches? Because they like to talk about things that have are expensive. I just Googled this. Hey, look at this. This is from GQ. Drake's $750,000 Richard Mille watch is not safe for work. Drake was wearing a Richard Mille watch in a video. Drake's Richard Mille watch. Richard Mille is the reigning king of over-the-top watches. I'm learning so much in my own stream. The one Drake wore in the video probably takes the cake. The sundae and all the cherries on top. It says it's $750,000. Anyways. Lizzie says Drake probably owns 20 of them. Look at this. GQ. This is from 2019. In praise of Jay-Z's $2.5 million Richard Mille 56. Jay-Z starts watch trends. On his wrist, obscure Swiss watchmakers become global emblems of aspiration and desire. So should we pay attention when the statistician of rap gives us a new watch alert? At his B-Sides 2 concert in April of, I guess 2018 or something, sounds like, he took time to sing, or 2019, he took time to sing an a cappella ode to his new favorite watch. Blueprint on my wrist costs $2.5. The only thing that flips the script between you and I. Richard Mille. The watch in question is a Richard Mille 56 customized with a blue sapphire case, which cost $2.5 million and took 3,000 hours to make. Founded in 1999, Richard Mille, a relative newcomer to, is this Haute Horology, is currently one of the hottest watch brands. Some of the most important wrists on the planet, including Rafael Nadal, I don't know how to pronounce this. Is it like something like Kylian Mbappe and Frank Ocean are now adorned with one of Mille's futuristic timepieces. I had no idea. Now I know about Richard Mille. Who is Kylian Mbappe? Oh, he's a soccer player. French football player. Ricky Field says, nice, I want one. Well, we now know about Richard Mille watches. This is very interesting to me. So that's the watch that was being robbed yesterday, or the attempted robbery. The watch that was robbed in Beverly Hills was a Richard Mille watch. Michelle Ryan says, who knew? Ellen G says, I think they look pretty cool. Hey, thank you, Tammy Lance, for your support. That's very kind of you. Tammy Lance, thank you. I really got to oil this chair. I'm going to try to do that tonight. Here's what Plano says. Plano says, any news today that I missed? I do not care about rappers' watches. No news, okay, bye. Plano's mad. Plano's all mad that we're talking about the watch, and he's letting me know it. Chef Charles says, I can't afford anything like that. Nice to look at. I like that we're learning about this. I did not know about this. I did not know about this. Duster Singer likes it. Jose Albuquerque says, you should try going to Monaco. You will find lots of interesting stuff. John Ginty says, I have the 1965 gold Rolex presidential day date that my father had refurbished. Sean Lindsay says, I break every watch I get, so not for me. Nicolette Key says, better be a time machine for that price. I had never heard about this brand before. Now I know. Okay. Let's move on from that. Let's move on from that. Katie Beth, I think you sent me the same story that we've been talking about. Nancy G says the man is wearing an evil eye bracelet in the pic with the watch didn't help. What is this? What is this bracelet? I don't know what this bracelet is. With the eye on it? Evil eye bracelet? I don't know what that is. Never heard of it. Ooh. Evil eye bracelet. They sell these on Etsy. These are not that expensive. There must be fakes. Jacques says you can have a similar one in China for $50. There must be fakes of those floating around. I'm assuming if you buy one, you take care to make sure you're getting a legit one. All right. Well, we talked about that story. Let's move on. Oh, thank you, Rita's Reel. Rita's Reel says for the Lookner Watch Fund. I haven't bought a watch. The last time I bought a watch was, it had to be like 15 or more years ago. I mean, if I went to an office, I would probably wear a watch. I don't wear a watch around my apartment. But thank you, Rita's Reel. I appreciate that. Me So Hungry says that maybe the whole watch story is a marketing campaign or possibly an insurance thing. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on. Different story. Different story. Diana L says, "Who needs a watch anymore?" You know, I like having one. If I were doing something where I weren't working by myself, I did like having one, because I found it more convenient than checking your phone. Like sometimes if I travel, not that I don't travel these days, but like if I'm traveling, say back to Boston to visit my family, I like having a watch on because I like being able to detect the time very fast without picking up my phone. I mean, it takes an extra 1 second. I probably don't need it. Nancy G says, "Evil eye bracelets are to be worn for protection." Chris Graff says, "How far?" Oh, one of our viewers asked how far it was from where the Lady Gaga's dogs were stolen. That's it's several miles away from that. It's not the same neighborhood. It's not that far, but it's like probably a 15-minute drive away. 10-minute drive away. Okay, let's talk for a second. A different story. We're moving on to a different story. Different story. Brazil, things are not going well in Brazil with the virus. Brazil is having a lot of problems with the virus. I want to talk about this. Oh, this is good, by the way. I just saw this. U.S. reports record of more than 2.4 million vaccinations in one day. That's going to go up, by the way, because the Johnson & Johnson vaccine isn't really contributing to that right now. So that's going to go up. I mean, I know it sounds like a lot, but it actually is not that many, because that 2.4 million doses, if you're talking about the 2-dose vaccines, that's only 1.2 million people. Remember, there's 340 million people in the country. But, you know, that number, I think you're going to be seeing that. It's good that it's a record, but I think you're going to be seeing it go up a lot more. You're going to be going. Scott Gottlieb, who's the former FDA commissioner, he said on CNBC today, he thought by late March into April, there will be a surplus of vaccines. That's what he thinks. He thinks by late March or April, there will be a surplus of vaccines. Oh, thank you, Jay Woods, for your support. Jay Woods says, for Lookner Watch Fund. Now it's the time to get back into wearing one. I don't know. It'll take some convincing. Hey, thank you, Jay Woods. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mark Warling says, Brazil is really bad, and they have been reinforced. So Brazil is not vaccinating that much, and they just have real problems there. So what I was going to show you is, here, this is also something here. BNO Newsroom posted this, Israel COVID update, number in hospital at lowest level since December 18th. They're the leading company in terms of vaccinations. 52% of people have gotten 1 dose, and 40% of people have gotten 2 doses. That's amazing. So, you know, Israel's a country that a lot of people are looking there to see what happens, and to see, you know, But to see about the, they're going to be the first country people look to see like the real world effects of the vaccination outside of trials, because there's so many people vaccinated there. Jennifer G says, kids aren't getting vaccinated, so that cuts the population number down to vaccinate down a lot from 340 million. Roughly speaking, children are about 25% of the population. Roughly speaking, 3/4 of the people in the U.S. are adults. So roughly speaking, you'd have about 270 million adults. Hey, thanks, by the way, to Nick Stewart, who gave to the Watch Fund. People really excited about me getting a watch, I guess. Hey, thank you, Nick. That's very kind of you, Nick Stewart. Thank you so much. And hey, Mr. Fe, thanks so much for that, Mr. Fe. Really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Mr. Fe and Nick Stewart, thank you. For like a country like Israel, I know there's been like stuff, they're looking at whether, for example, they're looking at Israel, researchers, and seeing like, hey, with all these people getting vaccinated, will the number of cases come down, not just the number of deaths and hospitalizations? So, for example, see like this. Reuters, Israeli studies find Pfizer vaccine reduces transmission. The vaccines weren't developed to reduce transmission. These vaccines were developed to keep you from getting sick and dying. But it may be the case, and it's thought certainly possible, that the vaccines prevent you from actually having the virus replicated in you and give it to others. So it'd be amazing if it actually stopped people giving it to other people, rather than just stopping people from getting sick. But with Israel, Israel's going to give you all this data because they've already vaccinated so many of the people there. So you can actually look at what's going on in Israel and use that as data to see what's going on with this vaccine. So Israeli studies find Pfizer vaccine reduces transmission. Pfizer's vaccine greatly reduces virus transmission, 2 Israeli studies have found. I believe these are not peer-reviewed yet. These are not peer-reviewed. The findings of the pre-published study, not peer-reviewed, but based on a national database that's one of the world's most advanced, were first reported by the Israeli news site Ynet Thursday and were obtained by Reuters. This is like a couple weeks ago. Data analysis in a study by the Israeli Health Ministry and Pfizer found the Pfizer vaccine developed with BioNTech reduces infection, including asymptomatic cases, by 90%, and in symptomatic cases by 93%. So again, that would be great because more research is needed to draw a definitive conclusion, but the studies are among the first to suggest a vaccine may stop the spread of the virus and not just prevent people getting ill. This professor in Israel said the findings were a big step towards answering one of the most important questions in combating the pandemic. Whether the vaccines help stop the transmission of the virus, stop people from giving it to other people. But, that's why I think you're going to see a lot more stories like, hey, we studied Israel and this is what's happening, because Israel has so many people. By far, they're the country with the most percentage of people vaccinated. Beth Standard says, grateful to be fully vaccinated. I can't wait. I am spending more and more time every day checking the stories about the vaccines. Because like some states, different states have different, different states have different requirements for getting the vaccine. So I'm constantly looking to see like if states are opening it up more. Because I'm running out as soon as I can. Underdog Rising says, I'm fully vaccinated at this point. Get the vaccine. It's incredibly safe. Don't hesitate. Oh, and Andy says, I'm Brazilian and my family there are in the 3rd lockdown. We'll talk about Brazil in a second. Hey, thank you, 12 Tree. 12 Tree says, the Call Someone Who Cares fund for the viewer who left mad a bit ago. Hee hee. Hey, thank you, 12 Tree, for your support. Much appreciated, 12 Tree. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to talk about Brazil in a second. Still Kicking thinks Robin Hood stole the watch. Joshua Harmon says, I will take this vaccine if they are giving it out. Bud Green says, there are lots of other watchmakers that make nice watches for a fraction of the price. Well, I think that probably the allure of the Richard Mille brand might be in part that it does have, there's certain goods that people want because they are the highest price. Ellie Bourne says, I got my first Pfizer vaccine. Does this mean I can go out and party? No. First of all, you want to get both shots and give it enough time for it to work. That's thing one. Second of all, it's not. The studies are ongoing about how well the vaccine reduces transmission. I have seen some controversy, though, over the fact that the CDC has not yet, I think, released guidelines for vaccinated people. Liana Wen has been talking about this. So 7 hours ago, Liana Wen is a public health expert, and she posted this. She said, CDC director, she posted this today. She said, CDC director says they are still not releasing guidance on what vaccinated people can do. I understand being careful, but the longer they wait, the more people will take matters into their own hands and render eventual CDC advice irrelevant. There's this question about, from people who've gotten vaccinated, well, what's it okay for me to do now? So this is Liana Wen. She wrote an opinion column for the Washington Post. The vaccinated need to know what's safe for them to do. Safe for them and others. More than 1 in 10 Americans has received at least one dose, but they're still awaiting a clear answer to the key question, what can they do once they are fully vaccinated? The current response is far from satisfying. The CDC official guidance is that vaccinated people need to keep masking, physical distancing, and basically following all pre-vaccine precautions. Blah, 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 blah. The Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are 95% effective at preventing symptomatic illness and nearly 100% at preventing severe disease. These are astounding results and essentially mean that COVID-19 in a vaccinated person is no worse than a bad cold or the flu. However, because the research isn't definitive on whether vaccinated people can transmit COVID-19, people are advised they shouldn't change their lifestyles. Such caution is understandable, but the lack of guidance may cause so much frustration to make some people go to the extreme. I've had patients talk about discarding masks and going bar hopping. Others could question what the purpose of the vaccine is if their lives don't change at all. We need to articulate freedoms people can enjoy now because of the vaccine. I hope the CDC will provide more specific post-vaccination recommendations based on the best available data, even if they are incomplete. She says, I think the guidance can go farther and say some non-essential activities are okay with precautions for people who've been vaccinated. She thinks that people longing to go to the gym or go out to a restaurant who have been vaccinated should be able to, as long as they continue to abide by rules like masking and distancing in case they are infectious to others. I'd still warn against the newly vaccinated going to crowded bars, and they should take particular caution if they live with unvaccinated people and to not bring the virus home. So again, it's just, she's saying that there are these questions out there a lot of people have about what do you recommend I do if I'm vaccinated already? What can I do? And she hopes the CDC is going to come out with some more detailed recommendations and also maybe allow people, say it's okay for people to do some things. See, Michelle Sparks says, do you think people like us in Florida will have to go out of state? Nobody should have to go out of state because all the states are getting vaccine. Now, the thing is, you might be in one state and be a certain demographic, and they might not be vaccinating in that state, but they may in the next state. But, in Florida, you have to be a resident. I think a lot of states, you have to, maybe, I don't know if it's all, but maybe most, you have to be a resident to get a vaccine. So, but all the states are getting it, roughly in the same amount. Nan B is getting your first vaccine tomorrow, and for some reason I'm very scared. Ugh. I mean, look, it's the data is out there, but the vaccines, they are very safe. There are some mild side effects you can get. When you go in there, you can ask them about all of that. But every public health expert I have seen is saying that these vaccines, you should get them, and I am getting it as soon as I can. I would end the broadcast right now. If somebody called me up and said, you have to go right now and take it, I would say, that's it, I'm out of here. I am running out to take it. Because the benefits are so good. Daniel Boberson says they are cracking down on being a resident. Helene says in Connecticut you need to be a resident. Matt Machine says my 93-year-old grandma is getting vaccinated at Walmart on Tuesday. Steel Kicking says Ontario going from giving vaccinations to over 80s to people that are necessary workers. Nope, that's not true. It's not untested. I'm deleting that comment. I'm deleting the comment. How do I delete the comment? I'm going to give you because Periscope doesn't let me delete a single comment. I'm giving you a warning. This name was available. That is just false. It's untested. Completely false. Christine says, I have to do whatever my cancer doctor says. Roxanne Betke says, I will be eligible on March 15th, and believe me, I am signing up. Christine says, so the vax doesn't so much kill the virus as just make your body better able to fight it. The main purpose of the vaccine is to keep you from getting sick or dying. But there is a question as to, if you get vaccinated, does it also prevent the virus from replicating inside you? Does it prevent you from having a lot of virus inside you? Because if you do, that makes it easier for you to spread it to others. So that's the question that they're researching right now. It's possible that you can still carry the virus and give it to others if you're vaccinated. But it looks like possibly the vaccines really are helpful in preventing that from happening, or lower the chance of that happening. We still haven't gotten to Brazil yet. Sue says NBC said the COVID that U.S. is averaging 1,900 deaths a day. It is. I was thinking about this lately. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like that we've just gotten to the point where in the U.S. it's like, oh, this is Worldometer. We've gotten to the point in the U.S. where it's like, oh, things are going so well. Pandemic's basically over when the daily death numbers are still well over 1,000, and I think close to 2,000. Where is this? Worldometer. USA. Daily deaths. Yeah, I mean they're close to 2,000 a day, and it's just, we've just gotten to a point where like a lot of people are just like oh, they don't even like notice anymore. People don't even notice. I mean, it's more a day now than basically it ever was, except when it started, like April, May, it was over 2,000 a day. And then like for the next, until like the end of the year, it was below 2,000 a day on average. It's still higher than that now. Mark Worling says, horrible, 2,000 deaths a day, horrible. Saranya says, in India, barely anyone died compared to USA. I don't believe that. There's certain countries, my firm opinion is that People died everywhere. There's going to be some countries where people die more. I mean, obviously, in a place like Singapore or Australia or New Zealand or Taiwan, they've had way fewer deaths because they've done a much better job dealing with it. But in a lot of countries, they just don't report it well. India is such a huge country. There's major poverty in a lot of India. I'm sure there's places in India where like they're not recording the deaths. So when it comes to countries like India and Russia, I think they're probably close to the U.S. and how many people have died. When you really look at it, I'm guessing it's roughly the same. I'm guessing in countries that handled it the same, it's roughly the same number of deaths. That would be my guess. Because it just makes sense. The virus spreads a certain way. You can take certain measures against it or you can't. So regardless of what the statistics are, I think roughly if countries behave the same way with respect to the virus, they probably have around the same number of deaths. Yeah, and as Brenda says, some of these countries don't test. There can be differences in testing, differences in reporting, but it really comes down to what are you doing? Oh, Aravic Sonder registered for a vaccine as a teacher in Texas. Yes, in the U.S., I believe around the country now, you can get a vaccine if you're a teacher. That's because the federal government is offering it. So check on that if you're a teacher or a school employee. Aravic, I'm glad for you. That's awesome. Jeffrey B says, so ignore the statistics. Well, I mean, again, this is that's a blanket statement. What I'm saying is I'm not getting hung up on. If I hear of a country like Russia or India, where they haven't, from everything I've read, been doing the things that countries like Australia and New Zealand are doing in Taiwan, and they're claiming to have some super low death rate, I'm going to guess that's false. We already heard that out of Russia. Russia was claiming this super low death rate for months and months and months, and then it came out, then they admitted there were way more deaths than they originally said, which is not surprising because they weren't handling it any differently. I'm guessing the virus really doesn't behave differently in different countries. There might be differences in climate and demographics between, how many people are older or younger in a certain country, whether it's warm or cold, maybe that makes somewhat of a difference. But the virus is the virus. The virus doesn't change because it goes over the border somewhere. Yeah, I mean, this came out, weeks ago. Russian COVID deaths in 2020 2 times higher than earlier estimate. Big surprise. That was from Radio Free Europe. You can find articles like this in a lot of places. That was a big story a few weeks ago. Still Kicking says, have vaccines been tested on new variants? I don't know the exact level of testing, but it is the consensus opinion I've seen is that the vaccines will, I believe they have been to a degree, is that the vaccines will handle the variants currently out now. Certain vaccines will. So, like the major vaccines, the reporting I've seen no reporting that says like the Pfizer and the Moderna and the Johnson & Johnson won't have a significant effect even on like the Brazilian variant and stuff like that. Yeah, I know Johnson & Johnson was tested against the variant. Johnson & Johnson definitely was tested against various variants when it was being tested. But I don't have the up-to-date about how the testing is going for all of that. Will it have some effect? NBC, this is from March 5th, how the different COVID vaccines will handle variants of the virus. Blah, 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 blah. So far, studies suggest the vaccines currently in use can recognize the emerging variants, but they don't provide as much protection against these new strains. But there's these, again, I don't want to get into all the technicalities of this, but generally speaking, the public health experts I have seen, they do not seem to be concerned that there will be a significant drop-off in protection from like deaths in the most serious illnesses from the current vaccines that have been approved in the U.S. That I can definitely say. But there's research being done. I'm not familiar with all the specific research on it. We got to get to the Brazil story. I've been meaning to get to this for 20 minutes. Let's get to this. Oh, thank you so much, SK Hanhouse. That's very nice of you. SK Hanhouse, I really appreciate your support. Thank you. Thanks so much. World's worst COVID crisis is unfolding in Brazil where no fix seems to work. This is from Bloomberg. 3 adjacent cities with 3 different approaches illustrate the despair. More than a year after a spiked virus, most countries have put the worst behind them, aided by aggressive government policies and vaccines, not Brazil. The continent-sized nation of 212 million is facing more COVID deaths and cases than ever. Its hospitals are overflowing, its policies in disarray, its vaccine supply is severely limited. In addition to a president who scoffs at the disease, rejects masks, and leaves each state on its own, the country plays host to a variant that's more contagious and possibly deadlier. Nothing better illustrates the bizarrely fractured nature of Brazil's COVID policies and how they've sowed confusion and anger and suffering than 3 cities along a 140-mile roadway in the state of Sao Paulo. In one of these cities, practically anything goes. In another, it's full lockdown, and a third, mass vaccination is underway. Each is a mess overrun by rampant illness and mired in a deep economic funk that shows no signs of ending anytime soon. This disease expert said what we're living through in Brazil now is much worse than what we ever had before. I see a huge storm forming in Brazil. I'm not going to go over this in detail in this story, but if you want to read this story here, you can go to Bloomberg. Then there's also this. Opinion, Brazil's variant breeding ground is a threat to the entire world. From Washington Post editorial board. This is from yesterday. Brazil is reeling from the coronavirus pandemic, and its agony ought to be a warning to the world. When the virus is spreading out of control and mutating as it is in Brazil, it poses a potential danger everywhere. Brazil's surge has given rise to a new variant known as P1 that appears more transmissible and may be capable of overcoming natural antibodies. So far, there have been 10 cases of it in the United States. Brazil's death toll has reached an all-time new high. Health systems in more than half the country's 26 states are at or near capacity. President Bolsonaro has spurned rejected efforts to combat what he calls a little flu and backed useless remedies such as hydroxychloroquine. The leadership vacuum has given the virus an opening to spread, especially from mass gatherings during the November elections, then the holidays, and finally Carnival celebrations. Okay. Another article here. Hold on. NPR. The pandemic, Brazil in crisis. It feels like you are in a Stalingrad in World War II. As coronavirus numbers improve in many countries, in Brazil things are getting worse and worse, a lot worse. The country is seeing a surge in cases of a seemingly more contagious variant, infecting people who've already been sick. And on Wednesday, Brazil, second only to the U.S. in number of people who have died, has hit their highest death toll number, more than 1,900. That would be roughly 3,000 for the U.S. because Brazil has about 200 million people. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's just the number of people they're reporting. It could be more than that. We haven't read about Brazil in a while. I feel like we've read articles before about how the numbers in Brazil might be underreported. The healthcare system is about to collapse, even in Sao Paulo, Brazil's most populous city with the largest medical infrastructure. A Brazilian-born doctor told NPR. He describes a horrible situation with hospitals at full capacity, turning people away with some left to die and ambulances are on the street. Hospitals are refusing to take patients in because they cannot find a bed in the ICU. So let's say you have a heart attack or you have a stroke or you have a car accident, people are actually dying waiting for an ICU bed. As for vaccine rollout, Brazil, known as one of the best countries for vaccinating citizens for diseases like measles and polio, didn't do what it had to do to procure and distribute COVID vaccines. This Brazilian doctor says Brazilian President Bolsonaro is to blame, calling him public enemy number one in the world related to the comeback to the fight of the coronavirus. He has told Brazilians not to be sissies about the pandemic, said this doctor, despite the fact we should note that he himself has tested positive. This doctor has been in Sao Paulo, Brazil, caring for his mother for a year. He describes the situation as a war zone. Food is ending. There is no calling for help because nobody can get out to get help. And you just see your comrades dying, your friends, your patients, your relatives, your childhood friends. So not good there. Jacques says Bolsonaro told people to stop whining. NBC News. Stop whining, Bolsonaro tells Brazilians after record COVID deaths. After 2 straight days of record COVID deaths in Brazil, President Bolsonaro on Thursday today told Brazilians to stop whining and move on. In his latest remarks attacking distancing measures and downplaying the gravity of the pandemic. Enough fussing and whining. How much longer will the crying go on, he said. How much longer will you stay at home and close everything? No one can stand it anymore. We regret the deaths again, but we need a solution. The Brazilian government has been slow to purchase and distribute vaccines, with less than 3.5% of the population having gotten one shot. It's bad. It's bad there. Bella Brava says, my dad lives there and has been stuck in the house for over 1 year now. Underdog Rising says Bolsonaro will lower Brazil into third world status. And Andy, who's Brazilian, says people there don't follow the orders to lock down and went to celebrate Carnival. So sad. Mark Warling says just horrible, see reinfection. We have to be on our guard and wear N95 masks. Still Kicking says 1760 deaths in Brazil yesterday. Still Kicking says, how long are vaccines good for? That's not clear yet. That's going to be something that's going to be researched. I mean, ultimately, you're going to have to, I think, look at the people who get vaccines and see how long it works for. Hopefully a long time, but that's not clear yet. You might have to get, if you get vaccinated, you might have to get, like flu vaccines. Well, flu vaccines they have to do every year because the flu, the strains change. But there, maybe you'll need to get vaccinated. I don't know how long the vaccine will last, just period. But also maybe there'll be new strains of the coronavirus that pop up like the flu, and you'll need to get booster shots for the new strains. Yeah, Brenda Triplett says we only had one child flu death this flu season. I've seen stories like this. This is from Healthline. While COVID is raging, flu cases remain unusually low. So I'm guessing it's because people are socially distancing, right? People are staying home, or they're keeping their distance and they're wearing masks. So that will keep people from giving the flu to each other, I would think. The U.S. is continuing to experience an unusually mild flu season. It could also be because the viruses are different, but yeah, look, Scott Kaiser, a board-certified family medicine physician and geriatrician at Providence St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, California, says the uncharacteristically low levels of flu observed across the country can likely be attributed to the mitigation measures used for COVID-19. Wearing a mask, physical distancing, and washing hands are not only critical to reducing the spread of COVID, but protect against the spread of the flu as well, he said. Look at this. In a year, NYC flu deaths dropped from 186 to just 5. This is from WRAL. Social distancing and mask wearing isn't only slowing the spread of COVID-19, but also the flu. This year, 125 Americans have died from the flu. That's less than 4% of deaths during the same time period last year, when 3,422 people died of the flu. That's a big decrease. It's like a over 90% decrease. It's like a 96% decrease in flu deaths. Erica says mask and social distance is recommended for the flu, but usually nobody does it. It's interesting that it's that level of such a big decrease. Read is real. You sent me an article from June. Read is real sent me this. I don't know if she thought it was more recent. It says U.S. sends 2 million doses of hydroxychloroquine to Brazil, but it's from June 1st, 2020. I think maybe Read is real thought it was more recent article. Sometimes this happens, where you see an article and you think it's more recent. Was it a mistake? Read is real. You can write to me if there was some other message you had by it. I thought you were saying that it's more recent. Sorry, I'm just checking some things here. Oh, our viewer wrote in before. Really quick, I want to read this comment from a viewer. We were talking about the car accident in New York and how apparently the driver had a medical episode before crashing into people. And I was wondering about whether they let you keep driving. Well, I was wondering about whether you could how hard it would be to get insurance after that happened to you. If you were the driver and you had a medical episode and it caused you to crash, how would that affect your insurance? Now, our viewer Piro Toll said, my son has epilepsy. He's 21. If he has flare-ups while on the meds, he cannot drive until cleared up by his doctor, usually 1 week. If he has full episode and causes a wreck, he cannot drive for 1 year Washington State or 2 years Oregon. He has had no issues getting insurance via Allstate. Hey, thank you, Piro Toll. Sorry, I just saw your comment there. Stray Bull says, I haven't felt sick at all this past cold season. Hey, I'll say this, knock on my wooden table. I think the last time I was sick was before the pandemic. I'm not kidding you. Like seriously sick. I'm guessing not running around in being in close interaction with other people probably contributes to that. But there's also part of it is I think I usually get sick when I get really exhausted. So I think just kind of isolating is less exhausting than doing other things. All right. Let me just take a couple more comments here. By the way, quick thanks to our moderators. They are awesome. They're all volunteers. They've been in there moderating. Lizzie FTW. Thank you, Lizzie. Mark Helton. Sarah Joy. Really appreciate it. Roxanne Betke. Bud Green. Thank you. Thank you. Linda Bell just came in. Linda says, my son had a seizure and couldn't drive for 6 months. I had to go help when their daughter was born. Hello, Linda. Good to see you. Thanks for moderating. Also, our Twitch mods, too. Thanks to them as well. Ellie Bourne, Kin Picky, Riff Tracks, Tariag, Racing Neophyte. Thank you. And also, just a reminder. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching Agenda Free TV 2 on YouTube. My main news channel on YouTube is Agenda Free TV. See, this is Agenda Free TV, but you're watching Agenda Free TV 2. Only on YouTube do I have multiple news channels. On the other platforms, it's all one channel. So if you like this channel on YouTube and you haven't already, you might want to check out Agenda Free TV. And then also, for anyone who I also have a non-news channel that's only on YouTube, and it's called Lookner. And we may do a stream there tonight. I don't know. We'll see. But we do non-news streams over at Lookner. So check that out if you haven't. That's called Lookner. It's only on YouTube, and we do a lot of live streams, non-news live streams there. Well, not a lot. I mean, we'll do it as like a break from the news kind of thing. And hang on a second here. Hang on one second here. All right. Guys, let me just do a quick news check here and just see if there's anything big else I wanted to discuss. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is, let's see here. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to wrap up this stream and eat something. I got to eat something. And we very well might do if there's big news tonight, we'll certainly come back on the air and come on Agenda Free TV. If there isn't, I will probably do a stream on Lookner channel, like in a couple hours. So again, if you want to know if that's happening, you subscribe to that channel. That's Lookner. And also subscribe to Agenda Free TV. And if you're watching on YouTube, to Agenda Free TV too. So it just depends on what happens with the news. But that's the plan. I'm going to eat something right now. But I really appreciate you guys joining me for this live news roundup. As always, really interesting comments from you guys. So I appreciate your input. We ended up covering some kind of different topics today. I'm very glad that I learned about Richard Mille watches. I feel like I learned an important new thing. Richard Mille watches. So we did that. And hang on a second here. What is going on with this? Big thanks to our moderators as well. I just thanked them, but I thank them again. They're all volunteers. Mark Helton, Lizzie, thank you. Sarah Joy, Linda Belk, Roxanne Becky, Bud Green, Nightbot, Racing Neophyte, Tariag. Thank you, moderators. Riff Tracks, Ellie Bourne. And hey, follow me on Twitter also. That's where I post news updates, at Lookner on Twitter. That's where I post breaking news updates when I'm not on the air, at Lookner on Twitter. Follow Agenda Free TV on Twitter too, at Agenda Free TV on Twitter. We do have a Twitter so that's my Twitter here. There's Steve Lookner, but there's Agenda Free TV. You can follow Agenda Free TV as well. And for the big fans, for the big Lookner fans, Lookner channel fans of the YouTube channel, there's Lookner channel on Twitter. At Lookner channel. Follow them all. Hey, thanks to everybody who donated too. That is really nice of you guys. That's very kind of you. Thanks so much for the donations. And that includes the Facebook stars. Thank you, Juanita Rochelle, for the Facebook stars. But very much appreciate it. You are the ones who allow me to do this full time with your generosity. So thank you. If you do want to donate and support, you can go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But very much appreciated. Thank you. Sign up for notifications for all my channels. You can sign up to the Discord notifications and get the best notifications for all my channels. Just one sign up. It's free. The Discord notifications. The link is at the bottom of the video description for this broadcast. You'll see it right there. It says, if you don't want to miss a live breaking news broadcast, sign up for free notifications at our Discord notification server. Right in the description of the video. And the mods can post the link to that as well. But that's the best way to get informed when I'm coming on the air so you don't miss a stream. And if you put the Discord app on your phone, which I have, it pops up on your phone when I'm going live. All right. Okay, it's time. Oh, and just a quick reminder, if you do, people always forget this. If you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you click the notifications bell. On YouTube, there's a bell. You got to click the bell and choose all notifications. Make sure you do that to any of the channels. All right. Hey, thanks to our viewers, Twilla McCord. Thank you, Twilla, for watching. She says, it's Friday night, take a break, that's what I'm doing. Well, we'll either do a news stream or a Lookner stream probably tonight. Lori Rose Herzo, I have not heard about that lawsuit. Could you maybe, if you want to, Lori Rose, you can message me on Twitter. You can send me an article, like a link to it or something, because I hadn't heard that. Thanks for the recommendation, Lori Rose Herzo. Marnie Pixley, thank you for watching, Marnie. Barbadenko, Din Gonzalez, Sean Lindsay, Duster Singer, Christine Topher, excuse me, Audrey Hoffman Burbank, and all of our Facebook viewers. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our Twitch viewers as well. Where did the Twitch chat go? It's gone. I'll get it back up on the screen. Farah Butte. Thank you for watching. Osteral Destroyero. We did not do a Cuomo update on this stream. We did a whole Cuomo stream a couple nights ago on Agenda Free TV. Maybe we'll do some more updates on that later. Yang Chat, thanks for watching. Shaggy, thank you. Bossa Supernova. 11 Glowfly, Sea Swiggin. Thanks to all of our viewers. Thanks to our Twitch viewers. Periscope viewers. Thanks to our Twitch viewers and our Periscope viewers. Still kicking. I'm going to miss Periscope too. Joan Harris, thanks for watching. Pie Oh My. Chef Charles, and our other Periscope viewers. And thanks to our YouTube viewers, Michelle Ryan, Freckles, good seeing you Freckles, John A. and Petey, Tammy Lance, Doug Rabbit, C. Michelle Sparks, Darth Tater, Mira Aravi, Miss Sal, Underdog Rising, Ryder, Ann M., Lynn Smith, Mad Mars, Arizona Jumper, Happy Life, Snookerstone, Brainy Janie, Brenda Triplett, The Princess, Melissa McQueen from the Lurkers Lounge, Starfire, Miss Sal, we talked about the Sweden thing, I believe, yesterday or the day before. We talked about it on the air, maybe during the news roundup. Paula Faust, Rosemary Randolph. John Mills. John says, if you had COVID like we had it, you will be vaccinated. Living with someone on a vent, wow, and waiting for the phone to ring will adjust your attitude. I'm sorry you had to go through that, John. Quiana Capri, thank you for watching. The Princess, and Andy. Christy Warshower. Brendan Brumond, Mark Warling, Paula Faust, Tammy Lance, Nikki Kennedy, Bella Brava, Jeff Ha, Beth Standard, Miss Sal, Ryder, C. Michelle Sparks, Starfire, and everyone else who was watching. Yes, Sonic Man, we were just covering different stories on this stream. News Roundup. Murkow, thanks for watching. SC, Rita's Real. Again, thanks again, still kicking. Oh, Lisa of the Lion. Hey, thanks, Lisa of the Lion. That's really nice of you. So much appreciate your support. And thanks for the sticker, too. Lisa of the Lion, thank you. And Sean Lindsay. Still thinking about those watches, says Sean. Thanks for watching. All right, guys. Thank you again, and thanks to the mods again. And we will certainly have more news coverage for you soon, and maybe we'll do a Lookner stream tonight, depending on the news. Oh, and hey, Rita's Real. Thank you, Rita's Real, for your support. Much appreciated, Rita's Real, and everybody else for your support. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Rita. All right, guys, I am wrapping this up. I'm going to go eat something. Thank you for watching the News Roundup, which was not hidden yet again. I can't believe it. Awesome. Thank you, and thank you to the mods. And thank you, Cyrene74, for watching, too. All right, that is it for now. And Denise Horton. That's it for now. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon with more live news coverage here on Agenda Free TV and Agenda Free TV 2.